Hello and welcome to Politically Incorrect Knitters. My name is Ann Pinkava, joined as always by the lovely Deplorable Knitter. And this week we have a special guest, Amy from Two Sisters and Some Yarn. The episode is sponsored by Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. You can get our discount code 20% off by writing in PIK Deplorables 20. And that is even if you've ordered with her before, you can still get the discount. And also you can subscribe to her newsletter. It comes out 2 times a month, and she often puts additional discount codes and specials in her newsletter. So go ahead and check it out. Again, her website is chickenladyfiberarts.com.
Yes. Sign up for her newsletter. I get it. And she also previews new colorways and things. So it's always handy to have so that you know what's coming next time. I don't know. Next update.
And get the jump on new yarns once they come out.
Yes, exactly.
I just got a Chicken Lady delivery this week, so.
Nice. I haven't ordered from her in a little while. I need to. I'm hoping some Christmas money will roll in soon. So that'd be nice. But so this week we are joined by Amy. She has her very own podcast that she does with her sister. How long have you guys been doing that?
I should have looked at that. I think definitely over a year, maybe a year and a half. I'm trying to remember. I don't think it's been 2 years. That's a shame. I don't remember.
I didn't expect that to be the hardest question. I'm sorry.
I know. Well, we take so long between episodes. We're like, oh, it's been 6 weeks. I guess we should record.
See, you don't have a slave driver like I do. And there was a week where I was having like a mental breakdown, and Aunt's like, I still think we should record. And I'm like, didn't you just hear me crying in the corner?
It's probably close to 2 years, I would think. You know.
Very cool.
And what got you guys started?
I don't really know why. It was my idea because I had to drag her kicking and screaming to do it. Which she secretly likes it now. She just doesn't admit it. But I guess it was just a way for us to like get together because at the time she was working full time. Now she's retired. But I work full time. I have 2 kids who turned my internet off before we started, being official here. And it was just like Sundays are my only day to really do anything because for me, church is Saturday. It's the Sabbath, so I don't like go and do stuff that day. So I was like, this would be a fun little way for us to get together and just an excuse. And she's like, no, I don't want to be on video. I'm like, come on, it'll be fun. Even if nobody watches, it'll be for us. And then when we're dead, the kids can see it. She's like, what?
When we're dead, the kids can hear us talk about yarn.
Well, it's something, I guess.
It worked. So she begrudgingly agreed. And it's fun because I told her from the get-go, like, look, we're not editing. I'm not writing show notes. I think I wrote show notes the first episode, and I was like, oh, no, I'm not doing that again. No. You get what you get. You don't throw a fit. So
all that stuff really puts a lot of extra time on it, which is why, like, the weeks we decide to just be live, I'm like thrilled. It's like so exciting when it goes out into the world, and that's it. I don't have to do anything else.
Yep. We even have like a nifty logo, and I think the first couple episodes I managed to stick it in there, but I couldn't figure out how to do it after that. So I was like, I'm done. It's just I'm gonna hit the button and record. That. So
that's funny.
Because she has the whole yarn room, so she has a good backdrop for the whole.
Gonna lie, I haven't watched much of your show. I know I've seen an episode or two, but is it mostly just you guys talking about projects and yarn, or?
Yeah, it's just your usual. Yeah, we don't. Every now and then we go on a rant, or I say something that embarrasses her, which is kind of fun. But it's pretty much just what we're making, what we're gonna make, and project bags and my inheritance, as we call it, when her yarn purchases are my inheritance. So
you guys are slightly morbid.
Well, she's 18. She's 18 years older than me. She's the biggest sister. I'm the littlest sister. So she doesn't have kids. So I'm like, I guess I get all your yarn if you go before me.
Well, I guess that's something. I don't know.
Although I think at this rate, our children could not live long enough to, to use up all that yarn. But it's okay.
It's a problem. I think most of us have it. I mean, I see somebody having a sale and I'm like, well, I don't need yarn, but I'm certainly going to look anyway because
exactly.
Can't pass up a deal.
Trying to stimulate the economy, you know. I mean, Biden's trying to kill it. I'm trying to stimulate it, you know. So,
yep,
works out great. Well, and with yarn too, that that you sometimes get deals of, well, some lady who is really crafty died, and here's a pile of yarn for $5, and you're like,
yeah,
what is this? And I think you said before, with the hurricane coming through, because you live in New Orleans and everything, that's like, these are the yarn bags that we take when we run.
Yes,
these are not getting flooded.
He's like, what are you talking about? Because he stayed for hurricane night. I was like, peace out, I'm out of here. I went and stayed with the fiber friend in Florida, and the yarn is all in an armoire that Denise gave me. And I keep it stored in plastic bags. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but I squeeze all the air out and I store it in plastic bags. But I literally like open them doors and I'm just like shoving them in garbage bags. And I'm like, put the garbage bags on top of the armoire. And I was like, worst case scenario, grab the bags. And he's like, that's like 4 feet off the ground. If we have water 4 feet in the house, I'm not worried about your yarn. And I'm like, no, that's the most valuable thing I own. You don't understand.
Yeah, I've joked before, if like people rob my house, they're like, well, she had a lot of money in tweed, and I don't know what you can fence that for.
Right. Like, he has his guitars. So I'm like, if you would save your guitars and if you would expect me to save your guitars, then you should save my yarn. So
that's funny. Being in New York, I've never needed to have the conversation with my husband that he needs to save my yarn, because things like that don't really happen where we are, thank goodness. So luckily mine can just live where it is, and it's all right.
And most emergencies don't give you a warning.
Yeah, that's true.
Most emergencies are a fire or a tornado or, hurricane, you get at least a warning. So
yep. Hey, you have to have your priorities straight. I mean, forget about the kids and the other stuff. I mean, put the yarn in garbage bags. I
brought the kids. I took the kids. I didn't take the yarn. I took the kids.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yes, that the lovely Carista of Sweet Mountain Yarn has made our yarn inspired by our logo. So she has Two Sisters and Some yarn in her shop. I think she's sweetmountaincrafts.com, I believe. I hope I'm not saying that wrong. But and so because she did that, we're going to do a cowl or make along, whatever, starting New Year's Eve, basically cast on anything in that yarn. And if you can't get that yarn, any of her other yarn, and if you can't get any of her other yarn, there's like a list of, people. And I tagged a bunch of makers, like, y'all's patterns and other people that, so I don't care what you make whatever. So, and basically just super simple, just cast on something and that counts.
Sounds fun. I like a make along without a lot of rules, like the ones where you have to have like 6 colors of somebody's yarn and use this. No. I don't have time for that.
I don't have time for that. So
you gotta really
put the hashtag in. Yeah, put I put it on our Instagram, and Two Sisters and Some Yarn is our Instagram. I put the hashtag on there, and we'll just follow the hashtag, and that's it.
That's fun. I'll put the info in the description too, so people can find out what exactly you're talking about.
Yeah, because I know that they might not have money to buy yarn right now, or they already have somebody else's yarn or whatever. I don't want anybody to feel like you can't play along just because you can't find this yarn. So
yep, sounds fun. So besides the knitting, you are also really big into personal freedoms, aren't you?
I am. I love me some consent.
Yeah, that was kind of that was another reason that I wanted to have you on, because you have that so many people have been going to school board meetings and kind of protesting that way, and talking to you a bit and you're like, yeah, so I've been doing this for like a decade at least.
Yeah, you're the OG
Probably,
and people are following you
probably
now.
longer. Yeah.
Because you talked about speaking up about Common Core when it first came in.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I was a teacher first. I was an early childhood education teacher. And I now work in construction to make twice the money. So kids, don't go be a teacher. And just saying.
To learn your lessons. I did.
To learn my lesson.
My husband works construction on the side, and let me tell you, it's a good job. If you know how to do it, it's fantastic.
Construction management definitely pays better than kid management. So I was an early childhood education teacher for several years, and I mostly got kids with special needs because I worked at Head Start. I assume everybody has Head Starts. So I did that for a few years, and then Common Core kicked in, and I was like, what is this nonsense? So we went to school board meetings and we tried to change it, and our parish tried to make a stand, but money always dictates everything. So I actually pulled my kids out then in 2013 and homeschooled them for a few years until this construction management job landed in my lap, and I went back to work, and I'm like, well, guys, sorry, gotta go back to school.
Good luck, Godspeed, have fun.
I mean, they were old enough by that point. It's like, if I haven't done a good enough job by now, Yeah,
you got them. You gave them a pretty good base to start on.
Yep.
But I did the homeschool thing for several years, and we ran a co-op and all kinds of stuff. But yes, we tried to be Common Core. It doesn't, it's just standards. No. Every teacher can tell you standards mean drive curriculum, but money drives standards. So now we're stuck with it, and our kids are so much better educated now.
Yeah.
What do you mean just read a book and enjoy it? No, we need to close read it and have informational text and
yeah, but we need to tell you what you think about the book. Oh, that's
right.
Good.
Not what you think about the book. Hey, it's totally fine if we have a 5-year-old sitting at a desk for 8 hours typing on a computer. That's totally developmentally appropriate. They shouldn't all be playing.
Well, and that was one of the things that kind of came out with, having Zoom school, especially for young kids,
right.
That, there was pictures of, it's a first grader or a kindergartner sitting at a computer and sobbing because they just can't get it. And they've been there for hours, and it's terrible.
It is terrible. My kids did online school last year because they didn't want to wear the masks. And I'm like, well, y'all are old enough to make this decision. I mean, nobody was in school for a while there, but last school year when we had school, like, y'all are old enough to make this decision. And they were like, let's do online. Well, that did not go well because even though they're junior high and high school age, it's still all day long on the computer. They couldn't have any field trips. They couldn't have any events because, the COVID. So they were just by themselves all day long in front of a computer, and it was just miserable. So This year they opted to go back, even if it meant wearing masks for a while. So, which for now are gone. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. See, being in New York, I mean, they were so crazy. I had a kindergartner last year and a first grader, and they were like, oh, they have to stay 6 feet apart and wear their masks. And I'm like, I have 2 kids. They can play with each other if I have them at home. So therefore, why am I going to make them sit in one of the schools? They had shower curtains up in between the desks.
So ridiculous.
Very, very scientific right there. Let me tell you. So.
Yeah, I mean, developmentally, masks are absolutely terrible for children. I mean, they need to see faces. They need to see body language. Lock the door. They need to read each other's face, and you can't do that with this cup, like this.
Right. And then at the age my kids are, they both still have trouble saying the TH sound. Right. And that's a sound you need to be able to look at when somebody is trying to help you say it, because it looks a certain way when you do it. Right. And so if everybody's got a mask on,
right.
It's not helping them.
I don't know how speech pathologists even did their job for the last 2 years. I'm like, I think I would have quit. I've been like, no, I'm sorry. I'm not teaching a kid speech with a mask on. No.
Well, I mean, I do know that because there's a large deaf community nearby, that they all have those masks with the clear part.
Yeah.
But I still can't imagine that that's very handy.
No, it's not. I did interpreting too. There's no way you can interpret with a mask on your face, even if it's clear. It's just not the same. So
yeah.
Nope.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I think another statistic too is that the sort of, you don't want to throw words like trauma around, but sort of like the developmental sort of the literal IQ level of kids during COVID took a dip. And I believe you mentioned that the same thing happened around Katrina in New Orleans.
Yeah, that was one of the big things when we spoke this school year. I don't know if you hear the door slam, to ask them to not make us wear masks, because contrary to what the schools will tell you, local districts have the authority to make these decisions. They just won't, because they're afraid that they'll lose money. So one of the things I spoke on was, because you know, a lot of times people will go to these meetings and they'll say some stuff and I'm like, no, that's probably going to end up on CNN. You probably shouldn't say that. Like, let's reframe how we word this to people. But I explained to them that I feared that we would see the same thing we saw with Katrina. And after Katrina, Hurricane Katrina, for people who don't realize what I'm talking about, you either lost your home, you had family staying with you, you evacuated for a long time, whatever. My oldest is a Katrina baby. I was 9 months pregnant. But people who had babies who were either just born then, just before, somewhere around there, so that when they hit kindergarten age, you know, 4 or 5 years later, or even preschool age, 3 or 4 years later, when we saw, because I was teaching it, when we saw those kids come into preschool, we were like gobsmacked. Like, teachers who had taught for 30 years were like, what is happening here? What is wrong with these children? Something is wrong with these children. And it took us a while to figure it out, because we all lived through the trauma of the storm or life after it. It dawned on us that for those, you know, few months before they were born, a few months after they were born, all the way up until maybe a year, depending on how bad your damage was, these kids didn't play on the floor. Their parents weren't hugging them and reading to them and, you know, open playtime like they normally would have, because they were living in a FEMA trailer, or they were living in grandma's spare room, or there was too much junk on the floor from repairs that you couldn't lay the baby down on their tummy. You know, their lives were not the same than babies born 3 years before. It wasn't possible, you know, and it wasn't because the parents didn't want to spend time with their kids. They were just trying to survive. So the bonding, the closeness, the playtime, all that was gone, and their parents were extremely stressed. Well, when a parent is extremely stressed, that the kid picks up on that. So I said, I highly hope not, but I can see that in a few years, we're going to see COVID babies, the way we saw Katrina babies, that when they hit preschool and kindergarten age, they're going to have lacked that development time of seeing people's faces and bond. I mean, women are giving birth wearing masks. I'm like, oh my God, when you breastfeed a baby, their vision is perfect. Their vision distance at birth is enough distance to see the mother's face while they're breastfeeding. That's for a reason. It's so the baby can see your mama's face. And you have women giving birth and breastfeeding their brand new newborn in masks. It's just mind-boggling that people can't see that this is going to have some effects. Maybe not on every kid, but I'm just tired of hearing kids are resilient. I'm like, well, why don't we make a world that the kids don't have to be so resilient from, instead of making kids so resilient?
Right. You know, it's a thing where it's not as if the kid can never recover from this, but it's like, that's still hurdles to get over. That's still things that you'll need to work on. That's still.
And we'll have no idea how different it could have been had they had a normal birth to 2-year development during this time. I mean, think about babies born right at the height of, you know, right before COVID. And depending on where you lived, they don't know a world where people don't wear masks outside. I mean, that's mind-boggling in child development, you know, terms.
Yeah.
So.
It's crazy. And I know that it's, like you say, for the young kids, it's really bad. But even my kids were 4 and 6 when everything started. Yeah. And like, for a long time, they were like, we need our masks. And they would like cover their faces. And I'm like, dude, stop all of that. This is what we're teaching them. This is like
fear.
And you know, my 6-year-old still once in a while will be like, oh, we need to stay 6 distance from those people. They don't remember 6 feet. They just know it's 6 distance. And I'm like, no, we don't have to stay 6 distance away from them, because we're not, it's fine. Like, but this is what a whole generation is going to grow up thinking is normal. And I take the kids to the playground and there are other kids wearing masks there. That's not normal. It's not normal. And the fact that we're like praising people to make it normal is
no.
Anyway, I know you all agree with me.
And that we're abnormal for saying it's not normal is just insane.
No, I mean, the biggest blessing this year with our homeschooling is that we found a co-op that if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't wear a mask, they don't care. If you're vaccinated, they don't care. As long as you are not actually sick and coming to co-op, there are pretty much no rules. And because we all have common sense, it's
and personal responsibility. It's a miracle.
But no, this year, from last year to this year, my kids are such different kids just because they're around other kids, other families playing.
Same. Mine are, I mean, high school, that's hard enough as it is, which, I'm sure there's days where, they're like, ooh, good, I can have a mask and I can cover up my pimples or whatever, but you can't, how do you flirt with girls or make friends? Or, I mean, teenage years are hard enough as it is to throw a mask on your face and, constantly don't get too close.
Yeah, it's a level of social skills that you're carrying into adulthood. Make small talk, greet people, normal things.
Yeah. No, it's not just the little kids though, it's everybody. And even because I'm in New York, so they're still recommending masks, even if you're vaccinated, even if you're not, whatever.
Right.
And we went to a church service yesterday because my grandma passed a year ago. And so they were having a special church service. And there was a lady standing at the door encouraging people to put masks on. And I know that we got some dirty looks as we all walked in without ours, even my kids who can't have been vaccinated yet because they're too small. But now we got people who are mad at you and judging you because you're got personal freedom. It's
dare
really
to breathe.
dare to have a brain, whatever. So you've been involved in this for a long time. So what else have you besides childhood development? I know that you're very into health freedoms, correct?
Yes. Yeah, basically. I mean, I kind of lean more libertarian. You could swallow glass if you want. I really don't care. That's your choice. I'll tell you that that's stupid, but if that's what you want to do, by all means do it, as long as you understand the risks involved. So, I'm a big fan of consent, and that seems like we have lost that in the last 2 years. So I'm an OG anti-vaxxer. So not really, but I mean, I like to say, pro-vaccine choice, but
right, which is also, I mean, that a lot, past again decade or more. But I mean, I was homeschooled for a couple of years, and how often the two have gone hand in hand, that you have parents with kids who have had vaccine injuries and different kind of crunchy food stuff, but also the homeschooling and in some cases the small farming, that all of that kind of is one big happy group together.
Sometimes.
And people from vastly different backgrounds too, that
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I was markedly surprised as all this went down. The people that I thought were crunchy were all like, oh no, it's going to kill us all and we all need to wear masks and slather ourselves in antibacterial. I'm like, didn't you just tell me a microwave would probably kill me? What is going on here? So I'm confused. So, I mean, and unfortunately I've noticed, and I never thought the day would come, that it's easier for people like me because we never vaccinated. So I'm not getting the pushback that other people get, people that are trying to get exemptions and this and that. And the amount of invasiveness from these companies is astronomical. I mean, it blows my mind, the stuff that, I've helped several people try to get an exemption. Some have been approved, some have not. And oh, well then if you don't want this, did you get any other vaccines in adult? It's like, none of this is any of your business. I mean, do you have your STDs? Can you please show me your TB test? I mean, where in the world did we go that we can ask people their personal medical choices all of a sudden? I mean, it's not okay. It's never okay. And it's shocking that it's actually easier for me now because I can say, look, I never have. And people are like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. And I'm like, well, why does it make sense for me, but it doesn't make sense for Bob? Because Bob decided to change his mind and he doesn't want any vaccines now.
Right.
It's okay for Bob to change his mind.
It is. But there's also things like so I seem like an extremely political person and whatever, but that's only like within the last 4 or 5 years that I've really gotten into things. And I like never knew that they used aborted fetal tissue to make them. So now I have an objection just because I
Right.
just found out about that. So things are happening. Life evolves. It's not like, oh, this is my mindset right now, so it's gonna be my mindset forever.
Right.
So
and lots of people have said, look, give me some time. Just let's find out what the studies say. And what I have enjoyed is that people are finding out that, hey, there's never been safety studies. Sorry, for the last 30 years, they were supposed to provide safety studies and they agreed to providing safety studies in 1986. Yeah, they didn't do that. So, spoiler, there are no safety studies. They did not conduct them the way they said they were going to conduct them. But people are realizing, like I see some memes, and it's like parents are about to find out what liability free really means. And people have no idea. They honestly did not know all the things that people like me have been screaming for 20 years, that no, you can't sue them if you get injured. There's only $250,000 you'll get if you die. Your family will get if you die. I mean, you have to provide all the proof. You have to go to the court. No, you can't get any lawyer. You can only get this lawyer because you can only use the ones on vaccine injury court. I mean, people have no idea. They had no idea. And that's the only good thing that COVID has done, in my opinion, is it has woken people up to what really is going on in the vaccine industry. Which, again, I don't care if you want to get one all day long. Just don't tell me I have to,
Yeah. And the whole I don't know how it is elsewhere. Like I said, I'm in New York, so everything I know is based on living in a blue state. And so like all of our schools have mask mandates, and now there's a fear that now that they've done the 5 to 11-year-olds, I've heard that they're going to start going to the schools to give the kids the vaccine.
Right, because sending a kid to school was implied consent in most states. And I want to say New York is very limited on their exemptions. I thought they only had medical. Or do they have
we don't have any. They got rid of religious exemption 2 years ago. So we're very, we're very limited in what we can do.
Right.
But if I found out that if I sent my kid to school and they were going to get vaccinated, if the truck happened to be there, they would not be going anymore.
Right.
That's not me consenting.
Right.
They're all power mad at this point.
Which implied consent is ridiculous. There should always be explicit consent when it involves a medical procedure.
Yeah.
That's like saying your husband to the doctor and he's going to go get a checkup and doesn't realize he's getting a vasectomy. Well, it's implied consent. He went to the doctor.
I mean, doesn't he know that we do that here? I mean, come on.
Come on. I mean, you signed that digital thing when you went to the doctor. I mean, you didn't know? Geez, so stupid.
That's what you get for not reading the terms and conditions.
Right. But they don't show you that. They just tell you to sign that little digital thing and you have no idea. You're signing consent to all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, consent is a big deal for me. A few years ago, because I do help a group. I help work with a group. And I'm also friends with a lawyer in here in Louisiana who is very Democrat and very liberal, but she and I are friends and we agree on consent. And she's an awesome person. And we helped our group and people and friends helped her lobby to pass a law, which shockingly enough needed to be law in 2019, that you have to that hospitals and doctors have to get consent for pelvic and vaginal and rectal exams on unconscious patients. Like, it was legal. You could go in for like shoulder surgery and there's, maybe there's an intern that hasn't done one yet. Oh, they're unconscious. Go ahead and do it. And you didn't have to give explicit consent on this. And women were waking up and finding out that they had pelvic exams and did not know and had not consented to it. So we were able to help pass that law to make that illegal, which is insane.
Yeah.
That it needed to be passed.
That's insane. Yeah, just to repeat that.
Yeah.
My gosh.
So I'm all about consent and health choices and the individual making the choices that's best for their body. And I don't set myself on fire to keep you warm. So, we have to take care of our own bodies and our own selves and our own kids, so.
Yeah, and even just the simple thing of just thinking that if a medical procedure is right for me, it must be right for you too, and you have to get it.
Right.
It's just ridiculous. Like, assuming that, simple things like medication, like this same medication doesn't work the same way for everybody. And that's a very simple thing. And not suddenly, because it has been going on for a while, but specifically with this vaccine mandate, it's that, but more so with you must get it. Well, what if I have an allergy? I don't care.
Yeah, they very much don't care about anything. And what you said about if it's not right for, it might be right for me and it's not right for you. Like a super great example is the surgery I'm going to have is due to a genetic condition. So technically every single woman diagnosed with it is recommended to have a total hysterectomy so that she lessens her chance of getting cancer. So my husband and I decided that based on research and odds, and it was a good choice for me. Another woman might say, well, my family history is much less than yours. It's not a great idea. And that's okay. They're both valid responses to the same thing. And so it shouldn't be, that's what people don't get. It's not this whole like, oh, well, because Dr. Fauci said it, everybody should, dude, that guy.
Whatever he says, let's do the opposite just from here on out. That's
I've
so many
for a while I've been there.
And dogs.
But
like that's
first, but also
that's what people are like, well, the argument you'll get is that, well, it's for the greater good. You get your vaccine so that it protects others. I'm like, guys, that is literally not how vaccines have worked since the dawn of vaccines. They only changed that narrative to this one because it's always
they changed herd immunity too because of this.
Right. Because herd immunity technically originally was coined based on natural immunity of a group of in the community got this disease and they had herd immunity. You never in the dawn of vaccines have ever been able to have true vaccine herd immunity because there's always going to be somebody who's allergic, somebody you can't track down, somebody who is too old, too young, has this condition, that condition, and you can't vaccinate. I think they said 97% of the population is what you would need to get vaccine herd immunity. You're never going to get that ever. Well, no, I'm not going to say never. They could throw us all in the Gestapo, the Gestapo could come. And the Gulag, they could do it. Right. So let's not get to the Gulag. But, in a free society, you're not going to get 97% of people vaccinated. So that's just a complete myth. But so what you hear a lot of people argue is, well, you should get it because you're protecting other people and it's your duty. And I'm like, but no, because see, you can't just use that logically on vaccines. So does that mean now we're going to go castrate every man so that he doesn't rape people? Are we going to go make nobody can drink any alcohol because you might drink too much alcohol in a car accident? You can't use that logic. That's a logical fallacy. You can't,
but you sound so reasonable. That's not how it works. You have to forget reason. What is it? My feelings over facts or whatever it is. I feel safer if you get your vaccine. So therefore you must do what I say.
The pretty graphic said that if I don't do it, I'll kill grandma. So the rest of y'all being crazy selfish.
Right. So see, that must be why I can't lose weight is because y'all are not dieting correctly. Because my diet only works if you diet.
Yeah.
And
and I'm not big on the, we live in a free society. You can do whatever you want to, but why has nobody said the whole time, hey, go to the gym, take a walk, eat an apple, and anything. Take some vitamins. Vitamins are pretty good for you. A lot of people don't take them.
Yeah. Because those things don't make them money. You know that. Big pharma does not make money when you go sit in the sunshine and get your vitamin D that you need to get every day.
Mm-hmm. That is true. I actually have seasonal depression. And so anytime in the winter the sun's out, my husband's like, okay, let's take a walk. Mommy needs vitamin D. We gotta go outside.
Yeah, I'll do.
Because it gets real dreary here in the winter.
Money,
so.
Healthcare is not. There's no money to be made in keeping people healthy. I mean, you have to think about it. If you can find it, like we have a family care doctor who's amazing because he's like, well, I don't need to see y'all for a couple years. Something happens, you get sick, come back. It's not. His goal is to not see you, because if he doesn't see you, that means you're doing okay and you're healthy, and he'll be there if you get sick. But his point is to not have you on chronic medicine or anything that you need to constantly see him for. There's not many doctors like that left anymore.
Well, and I don't know, how often you hear this, but people who are on, different antidepressants, and it's them that say to their doctor, hey, I want to get off this. And not the doctor saying, maybe you should, consider that it's kind of self-started, that you never hear the doctor saying, well, or not never, but much more rare, I would say.
It is. It happens. It is rare. But yeah, I mean, we've had to see our doctor for a couple of things, and he'll be like, okay, let's try this for a little while, come back in 6 months, and then we should be able to get you off of this medicine. And it does. He gets you off of whatever medicine it is you're on, because he doesn't want you on medicine. He wants you to be healthy. And I'm like, can we make more of you? Disperse them around the country?
Sir, do you want to start a med school?
No, can you go teach some classes, please? I mean, he tells me, yeah, you should go get your vaccines. But, he's like, well, that's your choice. I think you should do it, but it's your choice. It's your body. So I'm like, I'm verklempt.
No doctor's ever told me that I belong to me before. Thank you, sir.
I know. Thank you, kind sir.
That's a perfect example. That should not be odd. That should not make you feel special for your doctor to be like, hey, I think you should do this, but you don't have to.
Right. And I'll still keep you as my patient. I won't kick you out.
Yeah, I love those people that are like, oh, you're not going to comply? All right, peace.
Yeah.
I think that's more common here too. Like I said,
it happens a lot here at pediatricians. Pediatricians will kick families out there for years, and I've had people come to me, they're like, well, my doctor said if I don't get the vaccine, they won't see me anymore. And I'm like, welcome to our world. Pediatricians were kicking us all out for decades.
Yeah. So what I just found out from one of my friends 2 years ago when the religious exemption was removed here, she had a friend who their kid was 17. And so they took him out because he didn't want to get his vaccines. He decided that wasn't right. When he turned 18, he was eligible to go back to school without his vaccines because he was an adult. I just kept looking at her while she's telling me the story. I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. And she's
why is it magically okay? Because he turned 18.
Because he's 18 now. I don't know. And that's the problem with a lot of this stuff, is that's the logic. It's things like that where you're like, okay, so now that I'm 18, I'm fine. I'm not a carrier. I don't get it.
Right. No, I don't know.
I don't know how that works, but
I don't know. It's insane.
All insane.
But I know that here, we're probably getting ready next legislative session. It's going to be a showdown because we tried to pass quite a few bills last session. Bless our little legislature's hearts, they tried. And it wasn't just about vaccines, it was about all kinds of things, concealed carry and abortion, and different, and simple stuff. It was simple stuff like when you give a patient a morning after pill, I think there was some kind of information they wanted to give the patient. I can't remember what it was, but everyone that had anything to do with consent or choice or freedom or anything, governor vetoed them all, even though they passed. I'm like, what was the point of the session? What was the point of the session?
What are the politics where you are? I don't know what kind of state you have.
Louisiana is a very red state with a blue governor and a couple blue cities. Okay. So basically, we're the only southern state. For a long time, you'd see the little graphics and it would be like, this state's opened up and the state's opened up. And Louisiana's like, no, we're not opening up yet. Sorry, Louisiana's closed. It's so, I mean, New Orleans and Baton Rouge drive a lot of the, politics, and they're very, very Democrat. So, but overall, it's not like that, but,
Right.
And our lovely governor is just an idiot. So
Can't be worse than mine, let me tell you. We
I'm
thought
sure I'm sure they would
when
hang
we
out.
when we got rid of Cuomo, I was like, oh, things are going to get better. And then we got our new one. And I was like, oh my God, please, can we have Cuomo back? Like, that's how bad it is. She's terrible.
That's bad. That's really bad.
It's real bad.
I'm going to Ann's in South Dakota.
That's right. Though there have been some protests lately because the Misty Miss Christie has not signed anything to get rid of vaccine mandates for employees, and a lot of people are lobbying her for that. They're kind of ticked. So we'll see how that goes. But you know, as far as other things, we're fairly open. So
yeah, no, our guys, he's kept us down ridiculous, and he keeps, you know, pushing and pushing and pushing. He just lifted the mask mandate like 3 weeks ago or something like that, which a lot of people around here weren't wearing them. I mean, you'll go to the store and still see a handful of people wearing them, but probably, let's see, what are we in November? I'm going to say around summertime, people were like, I'm done. I quit. I mean, you canceled Mardi Gras twice. You canceled all the festivals. I mean, the area down here is very touristy driven, and how the city is surviving, I don't know. But
because it's one of the highest restaurants per capita, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. I mean, restaurants have closed, bars have closed, people's favorite festivals are canceled or postponed or changed. And, you know, she keeps threatening to cancel Mardi Gras again. And I'm like, I don't do Mardi Gras. My religion doesn't do it. But those that do it, it is a religious thing. It's not, I mean, if you're Catholic, you're supposed to do Mardi Gras. Like, it's a thing. It's not just a parade. And I mean, it is a parade and have fun and get drunk, but it has a meaning in the Catholic Church. And I'm just kind of like, how in the world does she keep saying these things are canceled? I just don't get it. But I think people have just had enough. So, and she in New Orleans had the vaccine mandate passport thing. Basically, you had to show a negative test or your card basically to go into any restaurant. You could go to Home Depot, but if you want to go to a restaurant or a Saints game or bar, you need to show it. Why? Why is it only COVID don't get you at Home Depot? I guess. I don't know.
The COVID knows you need to buy some overpriced lumber.
Exactly.
I mean, if it knows when you're sitting at a table in a restaurant, obviously it must know that you're safe at Home Depot too. I don't know.
I mean, you know, that's why kids were like, can we just replace our desks with restaurant tables? Because apparently it doesn't get you when you're sitting at the table. So then we can sit at our desks without masks, right? I mean,
can I bring some appetizers from home? These fried mozzarella sticks that save us from COVID.
Right. At least once a day, I'm like, make it make sense. I mean, make it make sense. I can't. This is why I play Animal Crossing, okay? My pretend animal world, it's fine. Although I'm slightly disturbed with the amount of money I have to pay in fees to get stuff done.
True.
The new update, Anne, you better get some bells because it's expensive. There's ordinances now. They put ordinances in it.
Oh, dang.
Really?
I did notice that you could buy a little tiny, you know, masks for your animal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I ignore them. Yeah.
No.
We don't have ours hooked up to the internet because we don't want the kids playing with strangers. So I must not have gotten the update because I don't know any of this.
I know.
Well, they'll never play with strangers unless the stranger has your code. It's fairly secure unless they open their island to just anybody. Yeah.
Right, which is why it was banned in China, because people were you can do your little custom squares or whatever, and people were doing pro-democracy, pro-Hong Kong, anti-China messages, and they put them on the ground on their islands to like spread news, and Chinese government like shut that down.
Oh man.
The freedom fighters in Animal Crossing.
Man, commies.
They don't. I think it's a rule that any video game in China, that if you want your thing to sell in China, you need like a Chinese office or connect. And Japan isn't super into that. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, off subject.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, but I will go check for an update when we're done. I'm not even going to lie.
It is a good it's fun. I mean, it's a good time, you know, it's nice. It's my therapy, knitting and Animal Crossing.
Yeah. My problem is that I don't play it till my kids go to bed. And so then I have a very short time where things are open. So I don't play it as much as I would.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
True.
yes. Off subject.
Sorry.
I know. I flipped my thing open and I'm like, ooh, I'm still in summer shorts. It's time to get my collection of virtual cozy sweaters out.
Look, I have a whole knitting room in my house on Animal Crossing. I have like a big yarn. I have a what do y'all call it? The weaving thing.
I have a loom.
Yeah,
a spinning
the loom.
wheel.
I too have a loom.
Spinning wheel. Of course I have all that.
Or anything.
Oh, wait, what?
I also have a loom.
But it'd be more fun if it actually like worked, if you could actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a rocking chair right there with my spinning wheel, and I wish she could sit down and spin, but I can't. So
as opposed to me actually playing with yarn in real life, which I can do. I'm complaining about virtual.
You want to just stare. You want to just do something that's more mindless. Knitting, it takes some sort of skill. So
it does.
I get it.
Gotta chill with something.
So if y'all want to be my Animal Crossing friend, hit me up on Instagram. It's just some yarn. Send me your code.
I am going to send you my code because I don't know how to have friends, so I'm going to work on this. And I'm not your friend on there either. We need to work on this.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Later on, we'll conspire.
Yeah.
So we can all see each other's craft rooms in the virtual world. Anyways, going on about different medical advocacy and homeschooling advocacy and different going to school board meetings, talking about mask mandates, that sort of thing. So because you've done it for so long, that if somebody wants to come in, if someone wants to start, if someone's like, okay, I've showed up to the school board meetings, what is the first steps, the effective steps? How do I keep an eye on things? And what would you suggest is the best thing to do?
That's assuming that it all works out and you actually make any change, but
well, there's nothing like trying for getting something done.
No, it's trying. There's baby steps. There's little steps. I figure the harder you can make it for them to make things worse, the better, even if you don't actually make big change. If you can just at least make it uncomfortable and hard for them, that's helpful. And unfortunately, in a lot of people's lives, and I mean, look, my kids are in school, but they're older and I feel like kids get to a certain age and they should have a voice in that opinion. And I know some people don't agree that. They're like, no, my kid's not an adult yet. I'm like, well, but when they hit a certain age, they need to have, I think they should have some say. So mine are in school. And, but if I had little kids, I'd be homeschooling. I'd be pulling those kids no time flat, but show up at school board meetings. And some places are different. Like some places they flipped that, was it Utah or wherever they flipped that, was it Utah or Ohio or wherever, where they flipped the school board meeting? Like they flipped all the members right there at that meeting. I don't remember what state that was in, but all the parents like banded together and they basically kicked out every school board member and put themselves.
I think it was in the South somewhere.
I don't remember where it was. I thought it was.
I remember the story. Yeah.
But they voted themselves in positions. So obviously it depends on your state, because some states your school board might be elected, your school board might be appointed. It just all depends. But if COVID and online school didn't teach parents to pay attention and look at what their kids are learning, I don't know what will. Pick up the book silly me books. Pick up the laptop and the Chromebook and log in and see what they're actually teaching your kid. Ask your kid what they're, talk to them about it. Of course, that's assuming you can go to schools, because now some places are still like, no, we can't have any visitors, because COVID, just whatever. But at the very least, go to school board meetings. And a lot of people are like, well, I homeschool my kids, or I shouldn't have to pay taxes. But look, you're going to pay taxes, so you might as well know what the heck you're paying for, and you might as well go be involved in what you're paying for. And there's people who don't have kids who pay taxes. So quit saying you don't have to pay taxes. That drives me crazy. That's like the number one question I get in homeschool groups. How come I still have to pay taxes? And I'm like, you drive on roads. You pay for roads you might not drive on. You pay for a fire station you hopefully never need. You pay for a library you might never need. This is the system we're in. I mean, you could argue taxation is theft all day long, yes or no, but you're paying taxes. It is what it is. So you might as well know what you're paying for.
Yeah. And I know in some, like I went to private school growing up, and so my parents still paid school taxes, but that gave us use of the buses, and it gave us like the ability to be on different sports teams, takes driver's ed, things that weren't offered. And as a homeschool family, there are probably programs that I mean, you're obviously not getting your money's worth for,
Right.
a driver's ed course, but at least know what you can still take advantage of, since you have to pay them.
And when people are like, well, if we pay taxes, we should be able to get XYZ. Well, here in Louisiana, we have a lot of freedoms for homeschooling. You basically can do whatever you want. There's nobody, it's really not controlled. So people are like, well, we should get kicked school money for school choice. No, because every time you get tax money back, there's a string attached to it. So
yeah, but even with federal money into personal schools, it's like with money comes their control.
Exactly, which is why you have Common Core, and which is why you're gonna have critical race theory, and why you're gonna have all this garbage. So
although you could be like New York and you could pay all the money and not get anything and still be totally, I am so beholden to my school district. I have to do reports and send them my curriculum, and so
yeah, no, yeah, but I mean, and honestly, advocacy is little steps. I mean, there are big groups you could get involved in, and I'm just not one of those people that's could get all pretty and be on, speaking up and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I'll speak up where I need to speak up, but at this point, the main point of advocacy is actual community stuff. If you know somebody that needs help, you help them. If help somebody who thinks they'd have to get the vaccine for a job. No, they don't. There's ways that they don't have to, and support the places that don't infringe on people's freedoms. If there's a restaurant that doesn't require all their employees to get it, go to that restaurant. Tell your friends you went to that restaurant. I mean, start small at the very least, and for the love of cheese, teach your children about the Constitution and our rights and our freedoms. Of course, my kid, he's taking a government class right now, so he said something the other day, and he's like, "That's the First Amendment," and I'm like, he's like, "You're breaking the First Amendment." I'm like, "Dude, you are not applying this correctly."
But he's trying. I mean, he's trying to work it out. So,
I'm like, the First Amendment does not mean I get to tell you can go to a football game. That's not how that works. A for effort, but no. Let's revisit this. But yeah, basically and unfortunately, the overlords are making it difficult to meet with people and be in groups. So I mean, you're gonna have to get on alternative media if you want to, hook up with people, get on Telegram and Signal, or I mean, I know a lot of people have left the big socials. I refuse to. I'm gonna hang on clutching, like you are going to physically remove me out of principle.
Right. And it is a difficult thing where it's like, well, don't want to associate with, Facebook or Instagram or anything before, because they are the big tech overlords and they cancel people. Yes, but there are other people who are simply not on the other sites. Right. So how do you reach the people who aren't going to move over?
Right. And in the end, we have no choice, and they do kick us all off. Well, then that's what we, then I did my best effort. Then, I said, hey, email me here or whatever. But, I mean, I get messages every week of my job's going to fire me, or the school says this. I mean, the homeschool group is hopping at 16,000 people. And we probably doubled our membership at the beginning of COVID, mostly over, the mask mandates. Some people who genuinely were concerned for their kids' health and they didn't want their kid in school, which by all means, then keep your kid home. If that is your concern, absolutely keep your kid home. You can homeschool for all kinds of reasons, but every every week we get, well, the school said I had to do this, the state said I had to do this. I'm like, no, you don't. You really don't. Here's what the law actually says, and just people just don't know. So unfortunately, trial by fire is the best way to get into advocacy. But it could be all kinds of things. It could be, does your state let you buy raw milk? Does your state let midwives, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that I've worked with. I mean, it's illegal for midwives to deliver breech babies here. Why? That's why. There's nothing to, I mean, it's just ridiculous, but find a subject that you're passionate about and focus on that. And you got to be allowed and be afraid not to, people are going to get mad at you. So you got to kind of have thick skin. So if you're worried about, I mean, no, you don't want to go invite crazy troll internet people that will try to kill you, but you can't be afraid to speak to your representatives or your school board members or the principal or the teacher or whatever. I mean, you have to have a little gumption to go do something, even if it's scary.
You can't be afraid to be known as the person who is always going on about this or that issue.
Right. Yeah, I mean, don't end up on CNN, but keep your points.
See that route? Don't go there.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy. And we all know who that guy is. Don't
be that guy. Don't be that guy. Because the media will take the worst, photos and quotes and everything that you could possibly imagine, and they will twist it. Even if you were there and that's not what God said, don't give them any ammo.
That's good advice. I think that people get overwhelmed. They think that they have to do the big thing, or
right.
They think that they have to it's not all storming the school board or boycotting, or you can, like you said, you can start with small things.
Right.
Personally, my husband went to a meeting a couple weeks ago for New York Stands Up. It's about maybe breaking away from the rest of the city, the city and so there's things you can do. Other people are out there doing it. Just find that you can find someone.
Yeah. And I'm not even actually really political. I'm really not. I believe that I should have, that I have sovereign rights in my body, and you're not going to tell me what, because I believe I follow man's law so long as it doesn't require me to break God's law. And some things would require me to break God's law. So just plain and simple. I'm not going to get the vaccine. You're not going to make me, unless you're literally hauling me off to the gulag. But maybe we'll have a knitting club in the gulag. That'd be kind of fun.
I don't know if they'll let us, but
we could finger knit with our hair as it falls out from starvation.
Maybe we can get scraps of clothes and knit that, like Marie Antoinette pulling apart tapestries to make socks.
Trying to think positive here, guys. But yes, by all means, basically at this point, every little thing that you can do to not need daddy government is probably the best step that you can do, I mean, look, I'm no homesteader, I love me some Amazon and Walmart delivery, and but maybe we need to work on, what do we do if we don't have power, and what do we do if we don't have access to 80,000 kinds of potato chips at the grocery store? Maybe we need to learn a little. What would Mama do?
Exactly. Just
my mama, despite what Facebook says, my mama did indeed wash her aluminum foil and save it. So I know Facebook said that.
No, the fact checkers said that was wrong. I don't care what you tell me.
Yeah, but everyone knows that the fact checkers' grandmas were heckin' rich. So the rest of us,
right.
Oh, that explains it. Yeah.
The fact checkers' grandmas lived on Long Island, and the rest of us are just
they didn't have to save their bacon grease, probably.
Dude,
they probably
that's just crazy.
So whatever.
They probably gave the bacon grease to the maid, and
the maid saved the bacon grease, but she didn't know about it.
Yeah, it's always a technicality.
See, I love people getting worried about upcoming financial hardships, and it's like, oh no, we got to stock up on, I need to learn to make alcohol and order yarn before inflation hits. So bring back.
See, so the yarn inheritance is just, it's security for the future.
Exactly. It will literally clothe you.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody says, oh, I'm ready for the apocalypse. I have enough yarn. And I look around and I'm like, if I really had to make stuff, I don't have enough yarn. Not at all. Scared.
How many skeins per person do we need to calculate?
Be walking around in a mismatched hand-dyed yarn sweater, but you're just like, ooh, I just have one skein, and you have 8 of them out, and you're like, hey, guys, how's it going?
When a hurricane comes, we have to plan for how many bottles of water to keep if the power's going to be out. They tell you how many bottles of water per person you should have. So how many skeins of yarn to make whatever per person would we need? See, we need to calculate that. Somebody needs to get on that. And you're up.
Dang.
I want a spreadsheet by Monday.
I'm scared of spreadsheets, don't you know?
I know, my spreadsheet is I just type it in the first Excel box. Don't even put it in other boxes. How much yarn do we need? Much. Several.
I told her to
Many.
make a spreadsheet because she was talking about grading a sweater pattern. I said, oh, you can just make an Excel spreadsheet and do it. And she's like, you lost me at Excel. Like, that's all I. So.
I love me some spreadsheets. So.
My husband makes them for me. He has a spreadsheet about like our mortgage, and it's got all the interest and the gross pay. Oh my gosh. And once in a while he's like, hey, come look at my spreadsheet. So, gotta do it. But
Hey, babe, come
like
over later.
Hey,
come it makes him happy. I will come look at it.
Hey, babe, I'll put another column on it for you.
All right. So anyway, I think that we have gotten plenty this week.
I think we've alienated enough people already. Who else did I tick off?
No, I think we're good.
Open. I mean, anyone else you want to go after? Not go after. I don't think you've been going after anyone too hard.
No.
If there's anything you like, and one more thing.
I'm sure I could come up with something. But I won't.
All right. Well, then don't forget to check out our sponsor. She has a nifty newsletter that you can sign up for and get deals and discounts and previews of what she's got coming out. And she's always coming out with new colorways. So make sure you check out chickenladyfiberarts.com. Use the code PIK deplorables20 for 20% off your order. And Amy,
doesn't she have a Christmas one? Peppermint something she just did? Peppermint self-striping?
Yeah, the peppermint sock. But unfortunately, since this is going to be a couple weeks.
Oh, that's true.
There's probably not going to be any peppermint sock left.
Sorry, y'all didn't get peppermint. Sorry.
Yeah. But thank you for joining us this week. That was lots of fun. Yes. And don't forget to check us out on Telegram, MeWe, Vero, Parler, Gab, Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. Ann and I are everywhere, so come find us.
As it should be.
That's right. And also, Amy has her Instagram at Two Sisters and Some Yarn, and also the podcast on YouTube.
Two Sisters. Yeah. Yes.
That's right. Yep. And I will link everything for you guys so you can easily find it. And thanks for joining us. Right. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Fun. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.